The overall workflow for the local purchase starts from the OPD or an IPD doctor desk, where the prescription has to be made for a patient. So the medicines will be prescribed there. So depending on the available information about the availability and non-availability of the drug, the doctor consciously makes an effort whether that drug has to go into LP or not. Then that will come to a pharmacist, and the pharmacist will have an option either to dispense with the available medicines, or if it is not available, alternative drug can be issued from the item finder, or alternatively he will raise the LP indent for that not non-available drug. So after that, it will go into an approval process for the local purchase indents. There will be some layers depending on each hospital wanting it, so they can approve it. And then after that, so all the patient-wise indents for the local purchase will come into the local purchase wing, who will be compiling them. So now they will compile it into a drug-wise list of local purchase items, not the patient-wise. And then they generate a draft PO. That draft PO will have a one level of approval. So it will go to an approving authority to raise a PO here. Once the PO is finalized, this is a proper purchase order. So it will contain all the drugs, price conditions and everything. And it will also have the supplier information and with all other usual disclaimers and conditions. So it's a proper legal document that gets generated after finalizing PO. After that, the PO will reach to supplier or a vendor, and the vendor has an option. Now, when we talk of the supplier interface, we have created an interface through which the supplier will be able to update the information related to all the items, the drugs mentioned in the local purchase order. So he will be able to update the information related to the drugs, the batch number, the quantity, how much quantity he is able to supply, what price, the expiry dates, the tax related information, discount information. So all that information he will be able to update, and then he will submit that information back to local purchase wing of the hospital. So now the local purchase wing will be able to see all the information that has been already filled by the supplier, and they will physically match with the drugs that have been supplied. They will be able to accept it. So that comes under the challan receiving process. So that challan receiving will have another layer of approval, which will be a challan approval process. After approval, the stock gets updated in the LP store, and the patients can come to local LP store, and they will be able to collect the medicines. Pharmacists there can issue the drugs directly to the patient. So that is what is the process. So we will try to focus more on the last part of it. We will quickly run through the remaining process as well. So now we'll go a little more in detail. As I said, the first stage starts with the OPD or IPD desk. The doctor will indicate which drugs have to be prescribed for the patient, and they can enter the details. One of the requirement is that sometimes some patients require a particular brand of a drug, or sometimes it may also happen that patient may be allergic to a particular brand. So that information also can be entered here. So for that, they have to click on the instruction column, and then they can add it. So once the drugs are added, prescription is saved, then the patient will go to the pharmacist. So this is a direct issue to patient page in the pharmacy. Here, as I said, like pharmacists have different options of dispensing the medicines. So he will be able to see all the details related to Amrelin is the injection that have been prescribed for the patient. It will also contain the information like what is the total quantity that has to be issued. So the required quantity is the quantity that has been prescribed by the doctor, and the quantity here indicates this is the quantity available in the hospital. So if the quantity is not available in the hospital, he will not be able to dispense. However, it may so happen that this quantity is the quantity availability in the dispensary. So if that quantity is available, if the quantity is available in the hospital or in that store, then he can dispense. So if it is not available either in the store or in the hospital, even if alternative drug is not available, in that case, automatically the quantity gets reflected in the LP quantity here. So the required quantity is 1. This is not available in the hospital or the store. So it will automatically come into the LP quantity. And then you have a check mark here. If you want to raise an LP indent or not, consciously you have to make a decision. So if you indicate yes, and save this transaction, an LP indent for that particular patient gets generated. and it will go into the next stage, which is an approval of the LP indent. So here this is an LP approval indent approval process. Depending on hospital requirement, you can have a 1 layer of approval, or you can have a 2 layer approval, or 3 layer approval. In big hospitals like central hospitals, dispensary in charge will be the first layer of approval. It can have a doctor in charge of the store or LP store in charge. So you can have a multiple layers where you can keep those roles configured, so that sequentially it will go into the different levels of approval. So if only 1 layer of approval is there, in that case what will happen? Now this is the approval desk. They have to select the LP indent OPD or IPD as a request type, and then they have to select the status as to be approved. These are the pending list of LP indents. So now they will be able to see all the list of the indents that are pending here. So they can choose either one, or they can also choose all the multiple entries also. So if they want to approve all, then they have an option of selecting the approve all option here. So if they click on approve all, what will happen? It will show in this manner. So whatever entries, indents have been selected, that all will get reflected here. The patient wise drugs will appear here, and then the next patient also will be followed. So likewise, you have a multiple patients, entire listing will be there. So this is a simplified process for the approving authority. Instead of opening each and every indent once a time, they will be able to open all the indents in one go, and they will be able to even modify at the individual level also. Here, as you can see, a particular patient here with a CR number, and it will also contain the information advised by which doctor, that also they can see. The approving authority can see who are prescribing these medicines, that also they can see, so that they can also cross check whether doctor would like to prescribe an alternative drug instead of this. So that kind of communication can happen based on this information. Now against that drug, here these are the remarks. So if any remark has been indicated for a branded item, as I already said, if a patient requires a particular brand, or a patient does not require a particular brand, so that information can be given here. That also can be seen. If no information has been given about the brand information, then it will be NA by default, not applicable. And then these are the required quantity. Required quantity is nothing but the quantity prescribed by the doctor. It is also showing what is the quantity available for this drug in the hospital. So it is not necessary that if the quantity is available in a hospital, you will not go into LP process. It may happen sometimes the hospital has to maintain a buffer of a drugs as an emergency medicine. So even if it is available, still they can continue to raise it for approve it for the approved local purchase. So the last column is the approved quantity. Here they can indicate the quantity, like 20 out of 20 they can give, or they can also reduce, like here it requires 30 quantity, but only 10 quantity has been approved here. So this is the approval process which can happen. If an approving authority takes an opinion that nothing needs to be changed, then simply they will select approve all, and then they will go select on the approval button. So they will have an option to click to view and approve. So if they click on it, what will happen? It will show, suppose like an approving authority has selected 20 patient related information, and 20 patients have a different drugs available in the LP indent. So they need to know which drug is like a compiled to which quantity. So that like sometimes there are financial limitations that have to be applied at the time of approval. So to get a holistic understanding of the LP approval that is happening at that point of time, so we are giving a summarized information of all the selected cases. So it will now compile them into a drug wise summary, and it will indicate for all the 3 patients put together, losartan potassium tablets are like a 60. The other paracetamol tablets are like 40. So likewise, they will get a broad understanding of it, and then they will click on the approve button. So after clicking on the approve button, if you have additional layers of approvals, it will go to the next stage, and next stage person will be able to see information not only about the original indents, but also the remarks and the quantity that has been modified by the first level of approving authority. So based on that, second level of approving authority can also take a decision whether to approve as it is recommended by the approving level 1 authority, or to further reduce or increase. So that thing can be done by the next levels. So now let us see if approving authority wants to see each indent one by one. They want to deal one by one. In that case, they can choose the particular indent can be checked here, and then after that they will click on approval button. Rather than clicking on the approve all, they'll click on approval. After that, this particular patient indent will open and it will contain the information about that particular indent, and then all the drugs that are raised as part of that indent, patient indent, will get reflected. If it has a three medicines processed for LP, three will appear. If it is only one, then one drug will appear here. Again, the same set of information we are showing it here, like what is the drug has been prescribed, how much is the required quantity, and what is the approving authorities confirmation of the LP approval. So it can be modified here, and then if any remarks have to be given for further consideration at the next level of approving authorities or the PO finalization authorities, so they can see they can indicate the remarks here, and they will click on the approve button. After that, they will click on the save button. So that is a individual desk approval of the indents and the approval bulk approval process of the LP indents. So that we have seen now. Now the after approval has been completed at all the different stages, different approving level authorities, it will come to a PO desk. So PO desk is where the local purchase store will be there, or the approving the people who are authorized to process the POs. So they will have access to this particular page. Now here, so they have to click on the PO desk menu, and then they have to indicate the store name here. The item category will be drug, and then the PO type as a local purchase order patient wise, and then they'll click on the PO status as a pending or a draft. After that, they have to click on the generate button. After clicking the generate button, it will show against that day what all indents have been already available for the consideration of the PO. So these are all the individual indents. It is a individual patient wise indents are all there. Sometimes if you are receiving the LP indents, say from the OPD dispensary, and you are also receiving the LP indents from the wards, if you want to process them separately, in some cases like in Northern Railway, there is a practice that even the local purchase indents which are raised from the health units will also come to the main NRCH or Delhi Division Hospital. So in that case, they can segregate for POs separately for each store also. So for OPD, they can make a separate PO, OPD dispensary. For health unit related dispensaries, they can generate into a separate PO. After selecting the multiple indents here, the patient-wise indents, the PO generating authority, whoever is nominated person, they will go to the compilation option. So the compilation option will appear here. So they will click on the compilation page. So after compilation, the PO desk person will be able to see all the drugs for the different patients are compiled the drug wise, and then the each drug will also contain the information what is the total quantity, and now PO generation authority has to indicate for which supplier this particular PO has to be awarded to. So they can choose for each particular drug also. We have given this option little more in a flexible manner because each hospital has a different practice. In some hospitals, the practice is that they will distribute equally among the all the empaneled the local purchase suppliers. In some hospitals, there is a practice of maintaining a roster. So each day, a particular supplier will be like a rotated. So likewise, like you have a different practices. So we have kept it as a kind of a open-ended option. So you can choose as per your own practices. So once you indicate the supplier information here, then you click on the proceed button. So after proceed button, again here we have an option for the PO generating authority to either reduce the quantity of the overall thing, because person who is authorized to generate a PO will be having some other consideration in mind, like my financial ceilings which are there for a particular day or a particular instance. So if it is exceeding, then he may opt to reduce the quantity here, or otherwise as it is they can also approve it. So after that, they have to indicate, they have to click on the save draft option here. So after saving the draft, we'll go to a next level authority. So here, after compilation or a PO generation stage, there are two steps. One is the draft PO generation that we have seen right now. And after that, it will go to an approving authority. So now the approving authority will go to the PO desk. So he will sort for the information, the store name, item type, and then the PO type, and the PO status as pending. So all the pending draft POs will appear here. And from that, they can select the PO and they can click on the finalize PO option here. Here, suppose there is a practice of consulting before finalizing the PO, they can also print that particular PO, draft PO. They can choose the print option here, and they can, in the offline manner, they can cross check it, and then they'll go for a finalization PO before they go for issuing the PO. So now the approving authority, when they click on the finalize PO option, it will come in this manner. So here also again approving authority can modify the quantity and then they can click on the save button. So after this, the entire PO generation process gets completed. So a PO gets generated and it will come in this manner. So as you see here, the PO will contain two sets of information. The first set of information is the drug-wise compiled information, because the supplier will be least concerned about the patient-wise requirements. He will only have to supply, say, 10 patients require a paracetamol. So he will only need the compiled information of the paracetamol, not the patient wise. So the first set of information is the drug wise compiled data. The second set of information in the following the bottom table is the patient wise information also we are generating as an annexure to this PO. So this information can be kept in the LP store where they can cross check and also can kind of tally with the individual patient details when they come for receiving the local purchase items. So if you see the first table, it will contain the information of the particular drug, and then it will also contain the remarks. So in the remarks, if some doctor has indicated that some patients require a particular brand, so that brand related information will come here. So as you can see in the second drug, it says NA, but in the bracket, it is showing quantity 40. So if the doctor or approving authorities have indicated anything about the branded information, so that will come here. Suppose the paracetamol total quantity is like 100 required in the local purchase, but out of 100, 20 are required from Crocin. So that branded information come here so that the supplier will be able to connect this information. So here the rate and quantity amount, this thing we are not indicating anything here, because as advised by the coordination committee, the price related information we are given with a disclaimer that the rates will be applicable as agreed in the MOU. So it will be connected in that manner, because each hospital will have a different thing. Again, in the same hospital, for branded items it will be different rates, generics will be different. So there will be different rates applicable, discounts applicable for it, and those terms and conditions are not uniform. So that's why we are not going into those details. The PO will only contain this much information, that the rates will be agreed as per the MOU rates. So now the main aspect of today's discussion will come, so which is a supplier interface. So once a PO has been placed, the supplier will also get the user ID and passwords. So each supplier information you need to communicate to us by the mail address. The nodal person of each hospital can give us the information of all the supplier in a required format. So if you provide that information, we will be able to generate user ID passwords to those suppliers, and those suppliers with access to HMIS, they will be able to access only that particular PO related information. Whichever PO has been placed to that supplier, they will be able to see that, and they will be able to update the further process that we'll explain now. So now a supplier, after logging in into the system with the given credentials, they will see these details. So the supplier, so the supplier here is a Messrs Divya Pharmaceuticals. Okay. So the first column is the PO number. This supplier has been given with the 3 PO numbers which are active now, and it will also contain the dates, the PO dates, and the PO type also indicates it's a local purchase. So now when the supplier sees the POs that are active on his account for updation, they have 4 options here, as you can see in the right side thing. So they have 4 options here. Each option, icons that are there in the action column, so they indicate different things. The first icon is to accept the PO. The second is to deliver the material as per PO. And the third option is the view PO details. Fourth is the print PO option. So if a supplier wants to see the PO details, then they can click on the third option. And if they want to print, they can now go for a fourth option. So when the supplier has to indicate the information related to the supplies, then they have to click on either the first option or the second option. So after clicking that option, so this is the acceptance page here. It will contain the information like against those PO. It will contain all the drugs which are mentioned in that PO, and the quantity along with the branded related information. And here the supplier will click on the acceptance button and then save. So once this is accepted by the supplier, it will go to the next stage where they have to indicate the information, the supply related information. So now they will come to the supplies related information. This is the most important and useful tool for the pharmacists who are handling the local purchase process in the hospital, because to update all the information related to a PO by the pharmacist in a single day is a very challenging thing. Just to avoid that manual work involved in it, so we have come up with a supplier interface option here. So what here the supplier will do, they will choose the PO number. After selecting the PO number, now they will see in the drop down option what all drugs were mentioned in the PO. It is not for a manual entry, so it's all there in the automatically coming in the drop down option. So they will be able to update only that information against the drugs that are mentioned in the PO. So as you can see here, so the drug only 2 drugs were mentioned in the PO, so only those 2 drugs are available here, cetirizine and paracetamol, and lanoxicam tablet is available here. So against these 2 tablets only the supplier can provide the information. So after selecting a particular drug here, they will click on whether this particular drug he is supplying in a single batch or 2 batches, 3 batches, 4 batches, so that he will indicate in the number of batches. Accordingly, if they indicates 2 batches, it will come in 2 rows. If he indicates only one single batch, then it will come in only 1 row. So after that, they have to click on the go button. Now you can see here, it has opened the 2 rows here for this particular drug. It has opened the 2 batches related 2 rows here. If they want to add any further batches also subsequently, they can add the batches here. So now they will indicate the information related to the batch number, manufacturing date, expiry date, pack size, number of packs, the required quantity that will automatically come. Then purchase rate, the tax rate, and the discount. So automatically it will calculate the cost of supply. So that will automatically come here. Once the supplier updates the information related to that particular drug, he will click on the add item details here. So as soon as he clicks on it, that particular information come in the bottom page. The bottom page will contain this information which has been already updated. So if there is any error here, again we have an option here to delete that option, and then again he will choose the drug from the drop down option. Then he will indicate the batches details and other price details. So once he completes the entire information related to the PO for all the drugs, he will click on the save button. So now he will be able to see the entire set of information that he has already filled, and he will click on the save button. So after save option, then it means the supplier has provided the information related to the supplies in the online mode. But however, the pharmacist in the local purchase store will have to physically match, like what stock he has received physically is matching with the information provided in the online mode. So both the information he only need to cross check. The pharmacist in the LP store does not have to fill all the information which used to happen previously. So that process has been simplified now. So now comes the next part. Once the supplier has provided the information and he also provided the material in the local purchase store, it will come into the challan process. Now the pharmacist in LP store will click on the challan receive process, and he will be able to see what all the supplier has already provided the information online. So this is a PO number. Against each PO number, it will have a different options here. So now you can see the more options also available for the pharmacist. He will be able to see the details. He can view the PO details. He can also print PO details. And apart from that, he can also accept the challan details as per the information provided by the supplier. So sometimes it may so happen that supplier has not provided the information online, but he has provided the information, they provided the drugs directly. So in that case, we have kept the option open for the pharmacist in the LP store to directly receive and update the information here. So that option also we have given. Suppose a supplier out of 10 drugs mentioned in the purchase order, so he has supplied 9 items immediately, but maybe after some time he has supplied, or maybe after 1 day he has supplied. So in that case, instead of for him to go through the entire process, directly pharmacist in the local purchase store will be able to directly accept that stock here. Then there are also different options available here. Return to supplier for corrections. So if there is any corrections required, so that also can be, like all the information provided by the supplier is not matching with the supplies. So in that case, he can return it. And there is also an option where after this challan process, there is a challan approval process. There is an approval layer. So at the approval layer, if it is returned or rejected, so that information he will be able to access from this icon. So all the five icons will be available here, and depending on the requirement, they will be able to see the active option available here. So if an option is active, that means that this is at this stage. So if a supplier has already completed the information, in that case, the first option, first icon will be appearing in the bright color, so that you will understand that this is at this stage. So after clicking on that option to receive the challan, now they will be able to, they will directly accept the challan based on the information that has been already provided by the supplier. Otherwise, for direct acceptance, the pharmacist has to enter the details manually here. So now you can see the drug information here, and against that, if you click on the button here, plus button, so it will come up as a pop-up with this batch related information, whichever supplier was supposed to do, so that information will come here. So this is an alternate process where the pharmacist in the local purchase store will directly accept this stock. So once the pharmacist in a local purchase store either directly accepts, or he will accept through a supplier provided information, finally it will go to an approving process, the challan approval. So whoever is the nominated person for the approval, they will be able to see the PO details. Here they have to select the store name and the PO. Once the PO is selected, one PO may contain more than one challan also. So if all the drug items are provided in one single instance against that PO, then you will have only one challan. Otherwise, you will have a multiple challan also. If the material is supplied in part multiple times, then it will contain multiple challans. So now against that PO, selected PO, you will see the challan numbers, whichever is like available here. So if you select the challan, and then if you click on the approve button, they will be able to see the entire stock related information against that PO. So if that PO may contain one item or 10 items or 100 items. So the approving authority will be able to see all this information, and then by providing the remarks and other details, he will be able to approve it by clicking on the save button. So now as soon as this process is completed, the stock gets reflected in the local purchase store of that hospital. So after that, now again the direct issue to patient process will come in play. Patients will get notified about the supplies received in the hospital, so that they will come to the hospital to collect the local purchase items. Now it is like a direct issue to patient is as same as the process that is there in the dispensary. So patient will only come to the local purchase store. There they will collect the medicines. So that completes the local purchase process.